Ladies and gentlemen, it's our pleasure to welcome Xander Schauffele to the interview room this afternoon. Xander, thank you for your time. You've gotten off to a wonderful start this year with 5 top 10 finishes, including consecutive runner-ups at Torrey Pines and Phoenix. Tell us a little bit about what's going well for you this year and how that's going to help you this week.
Yeah, it's been I guess, more consistent time for me this season. That was sort of a goal of mine. My rookie year, I won twice, but it was sort of an up and down year, and I figured I'd have more fun if I was a little bit more consistent. And now that I've been more consistent, I just want to win tournaments. So it's kind of been a funny situation for me. I think watching Jordan Spieth win last week was really inspiring. Obviously, everyone knows how good he was and how good he is, and he proved it last week, and sort of the ups and downs and the patience he's shown. And it's just, yeah, I'm having a good year and definitely looking forward to this week.
Good. Well, welcome back. You've enjoyed some success your last 2 trips here with the runner-up finish in 2019 and then a top 20 finish back in November. What is it that you kind of learned from that, or you think you'll carry forward and help you be successful this year?
I mean, two completely different Masters, obviously. Last one being in November and the one on the normal calendar. Sort of, this feels more normal now. Like I said, I think 20 under wasn't really the number everyone was looking for in November, so I can see the course is firm, it's fast, it's playing sort of to my memory and sort of what I've seen on TV historically. So kind of remembering old lines and sort of how to attack holes in a patient way.
Perfect. All right, we'll open it up to some other questions. Doug?
A couple things. When you think of playing in the Masters, what is the first, foremost memory that comes to your mind?
Like in general, just showing up on property?
What moment stands out to you when someone asks you about playing the Masters?
You know, I've had some success here, but for some reason I see Tiger and I see red. I don't know why that is, but when someone says, you know, the Masters, it's either, you know, Jack in yellow or Tiger in red. You know, I'm looking forward to creating some, you know, memories of myself here on property, but until then, it's sort of what I think about when someone says the Masters.
What color shirt are you wearing Sunday?
I don't know what's scripted by Adidas, but I can look it up later. And
then to the point you brought up a minute ago, Xander, are you more proud of the fact that you are rarely out of the top 10 in the world ranking, or more irritated that you only have 4.5 wins?
Thanks for the half there.
Sorry.
You know, it's a good progression. I think I'd much rather, you know, be a consistent player. Golf consists of a bunch of losers, unfortunately, in terms of, you know, there's only one guy that wins every week, and that's how sports works. So I think for, you know, my mental sanity, it's probably be healthier for me to be a more consistent player. But yeah, you know, you always want what you don't have, and I haven't won in quite some time here. You mentioned my half win, which doesn't feel like a full one. So just looking, trying to stay as patient as possible and sort of keep doing what I'm doing.
Dylan?
Yeah, you used a couple of the words that a lot of other people are using too, which are firm and fast. Taking November out of the equation, does this feel like, you know, it felt, say, in 2019 or even more fiery?
I think it has the potential to be even crazier. When I say crazier, I mean faster and firmer. A few of the holes today were already really dry, and it's only Tuesday. You know, normally those are conditions you kind of see on Saturday and Sunday. So we're expecting some rain Thursday and Friday, which, you know, warrants the firmness on Tuesday. But for whatever reason, if the rain doesn't come, then it'll be really fun.
Yeah, and so on a scale of like scoreable to torture, like where do you fall in terms of preference?
Hey, I think every guy who plays professional golf is a little bit of a masochist. So I'm here for the torture, and my caddy and I will do our best if it gets really tough.
Sean?
In your 4th Masters, what has changed about how you approach the golf course compared to your first one?
Just a level of comfort. I think I have a few shots off memory that I can kind of fall back on. Kind of just playing any tournament multiple times, you sort of, especially when you fortunately play well at the property or course, you kind of have certain memories you can feed off of moving forward. So I'd say I'm more comfortable on property. I've learned to not get stuck on the range on Monday and Tuesday. It's just a really cool place with the facilities and just being here at Augusta National that, you know, as a kid, you dream of being here, and then once you get here, you can, hang out till dark every day, and then by the time Thursday comes, you're completely burned out. So I've been trying to drag myself off property, most of these days. Hence this 4:15 media timing. It just cut my hard practice right there.
And on a high note with the media session.
There you go.
James?
What's something people might not realize about how difficult Augusta National is? People who don't play the course.
How slopey and undulating the property is. I don't know the exact number, but from the clubhouse down to the 12th hole or 12th green, it's an incredible drop. On TV, it doesn't do it justice in terms of sort of how gnarly and how incredibly difficult some of the pins are on the greens. And if you're in the wrong spot, the course can make a world-class player look like a fool pretty quickly. So I'd say just this overall slope and just sort of the overall layout of the property.
Mark?
How you approach, I know obviously you're looking at this Masters, but how have you approached this season knowing that the Open's in Torrey Pines and trying not to look ahead to that?
By trying not to look too far ahead. I try and adjust or practice correctly for each week. I think every week is different. Every golf course is different. There's so many variables that come into each tournament that, the only constant I can have is sort of my team, how we prepare and the mentality we bring each week. So it's easy to look too far ahead. Obviously, I've been very aware that the U.S. Open was going to be at Torrey Pines since I was a little kid. And my dad and I sort of talked and dreamt about playing in it. So getting the monkey off the back, playing well at the Farmers Insurance was really important for me. Looking forward, so I kind of put that nightmare to rest for the moment. And just like my whole motto is sort of one day at a time. And it's really hard to do at times, but that's what we try and do on my team.
Thanks.
What was so inspiring about Jordan winning?
I think for me personally, he's a very honest person. He is very open with his process. He talked to you guys a lot about what he was doing and how he was messing up or what he wasn't doing correctly. And I think it's pretty special for someone like Jordan to do that. I mean, doing what he did at such a young age, rattling off major championships and kind of being, I'd say he's, somewhat filled Tiger's shoes when Tiger was gone, you know what I mean, as a young man. It was very difficult, and for him to be super open about his whole process was pretty special. So I think that's just the way he is, and that's a blessing for everyone else to kind of learn from. And, him talking through his process of good and bad, it was really cool for me to see, and I've, followed it. And, I've always been a fan of his, him being class of 2011, always leading the way with Justin Thomas and a bunch of other guys. So I've always, looked at his game and his mentality and how he handles things. And I thought it was really special that he won last week.
That way at all, or would you want to be?
Sorry?
Are you that way at all, or would you want to be?
He's a little more vocal than I am. He's more vocal than a lot of guys. You know what I mean? I'm the opposite of him. I don't talk to my golf ball as much as he does. But that's how he ticks. Everyone out here has got their way and style of doing it. If someone told me if I talked to my golf ball more, I'd win 3 majors, I'd be yelling at my golf ball this week. So there's just no right or wrong way to do it. And like I said, it was just, pretty happy for him and his team.
I wanted to go back to one more thing that you started with about, familiar lines from 2000. Can you give us an example of lines that you've been taking in practice that you completely had to go a different direction?
Yeah, it's not so much, when I said lines, I was more speaking of sort of misses, I guess. There's a lot of holes where the miss is not obvious on property, when you take the low point of the course and sort of, like 4, for example, the par 3, when the pin's left. If you can go left of the pin somehow, left of the green, that bunker, anywhere left is actually fine. And when you're on the hole, it sets you up sort of to the middle of the green. That right bunker is very inviting, but you'd much rather be somewhere left in the bunker, chipping up the hill. If you can leave yourself an uphill chip or an into the wind chip at any time, it's the most important thing. And it's a reminder sort of each time I play here, it gets more and more comfortable, like a home course almost, to where, when you play at home with your friends, you don't really think much about, oh, it's a back left pin. If I go long, I'm dead. And out here, sort of, haven't played here enough to really, process that quick enough. And so I'm sitting here, have a headache, after 18 holes because I'm trying to really plot my way around the property. And that's kind of what I was talking about when I was talking about lines.
Sean?
Kind of playing off that, having, everyone's watched this tournament dozens of times where they set foot on property. Does that help when you first get here because you feel familiar with the holes, or can it hurt because you feel like there's a way you should play the holes versus discovering, your own way to play that might suit you best?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't catch the first part of your question.
You arrive here for the first time, you've seen the golf course a dozen times on TV. Is that helpful because you feel familiar with it, or can that be harmful because you feel like there's this conventional wisdom of how to play a hole versus, instead of allowing you to kind of find your own way to play it?
It seems to be, I played the last 2 days with Freddie Couples. I try to speak to guys who've won here and who've played well here, and they all seem to sort of have similar advice. So I kind of base it, the conventional sort of wisdom they give is good enough for me. If it worked for them, it's probably good enough. There are, in terms of hitting the fairways and certain things like that, I think Bubba's proven that it's sort of, there are several ways to sort of shape it around the property, I think. But around the greens and sort of attacking certain pins seems to be kind of a one-way street. If you're trying to do something crazy, then you can go at certain pins. But for the most part, par is good to certain pins on certain days.
Just curious for you, what do you feel best about your game this week, and what's something you might focus on tomorrow?
For me, it's always, I try and make sure everything feels pretty good. I feel like I'm in a pretty decent place. Short game is the biggest knock I give myself. Anytime I feel like I should have won a tournament, or I, kind of pissed a few shots away coming down the stretch, it's always been chipping or pitching where, I feel like a top player would get that up and down with ease and end up winning the tournament, where I'm sitting there stressing out a little bit. So it's something that I've, been very aware of in my game, and it's a statistic that if I can improve, it'll make my life a little bit easier.
Dylan?
How'd the rounds with Freddie get set up, and what specifically does he, teach you, or do you just learn by following him around?
I ask him questions. I mean, you can learn how to be chill and cool from Freddie. He gives off that vibe, and I appreciate it. It's a Southern California kind of kid vibe, and I linked up with Freddie. He was a assistant coach or captain on the President's Cup team, and him and Patrick, we all just played. Max Homa joined us on Monday, so it was very much a SoCal-ish team, I guess. There on Monday, and today it was just Pat, Freddie, and I. But I'll ask him certain, specifics on certain pin locations and what he's seen over the years and what he thinks is, the best way to attack a pin. And even if I kind of know the answer, I'll ask him, just for affirmation or some positive reinforcement for myself. So when I get to the hole, I'm not thinking about trying to punch it through the trees and hitting this crazy shot on the green through through two bunkers. It's hit it in the bunker and get up and down. You know what I mean? So it's pretty simple.
Mark?
Picked up speed.
Sorry?
Have you picked up speed?
I don't know. I have. I really have. I haven't been, trying to do this crazy driving distance thing. I got COVID, and that's been my story. I've gotten drug tested. My driver's gotten tested. No one wants to believe that, I can hit a certain distance, I guess, and call it random or whatever you want. But yeah, I'm hitting it further for whatever reason. I'm not mad about it.
Mark?
In that vein, you mentioned Jordan being very open about his game. Rory has as well, particularly with the swing changes he made because of what he saw Bryson do at U.S. Open. What do you make of that? Was it surprising? Are there lessons to be gleaned from that after seeing what Rory's gone through?
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising that people are doing the distance thing. I was going to be in that boat floating with everyone in December, but I got COVID, so maybe it was a blessing in disguise. I couldn't, speed train when I'm sitting there laying in bed. So I'm not surprised that, I don't know if that was your question, but if Rory being so open about sort of his process, he kind of is the same way. He's not as vocal on the course as Jordan is, but he is in this room as well. He'll give you his opinion if you ask for it. And Bryson had success chasing distance. He's, the longest guy, I think. I mean, to me, obviously Bryson's very impressive in what he's done, but Rory equally or more so. He's, 100 pounds less than Bryson or 70 pounds less, and he was, out driving him on certain holes or keeping up with him on certain holes. You know what I mean? I know Bryson's got another gear, but I thought it was very impressive that Rory was able to sort of not really change too much and start clocking in at, in the mid 190s ball speed. So it's not for everyone, like I said. Everyone's got their game and how they play, and Bryson is included and, can calculate, I guess, better with the numbers and how far he's trying to hit it. Where Rory, was open about how it sort of was, not as productive for certain aspects of his game, hitting it a mile. So I think it's really fun to watch when guys, can fly at 350. But like I said, would I like to fly at 350? Yeah, on some holes I'd love to, but at the end of the day, I don't know what it would do to my short game or anything like that.
I guess the surprise part, were you surprised that a guy like Rory, who's won as much as he has, as successful as he is, more successful than Bryson, would chase that?
Yeah, in all honesty, not really. I think Bryson, said he was going to do exactly what he did. He said he was going to, screw everyone. I'm going to put on a bunch of weight. I'm going to hit it further than everybody, and I'm going to, make the U.S. Open look like a pitch and putt. I mean, I hate to say it, but the USGA sort of, played the tournament right into his hands. They thought they could make the fairway small and hard to hit and the rough really long, but that, Bryson was sitting there licking his chops, and I would have been too if I was him. I can fly it 25 yards further than everyone else, and I can hit a lob wedge out of, from 140 yards out of the rough. And my hat's off to him. That's exactly what he did, and he won by a lot, and he made it look very easy. So I'm not too surprised that, Rory chased that, because I think Rory, he knows he can hit close to that same distance and kind of overpower a course like he can as well.
Last thing on that, how do you think the USGA will react and adjust, particularly this U.S. Open?
They're already reacting. They're going to, limit the driver, talking about, making club heads smaller. There's a whole, a lot of discussion about what's going on over there. So they'll find a way to, tiger-proof everything.
Alex?
With the added length, are there any holes this week that you find yourself playing different than normal, especially compared to November?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm hitting it, a whole lot further. I feel like my baseline of speed is just, a couple miles an hour faster. And if that means me flying at 289 or 291, I'm flying at, 298. So I haven't made this massive gain like the other boys have, where they sit there and look at a bunker at 315 and like, yeah, it's downwind right now. It's 1 o'clock. I can fly it over the bunker. I'm not there. I'm looking right or left of it.
James?
If not for the COVID and everything that happened during your abbreviated off season, where would you be aiming as far as adding distance and speed?
It's a good question. I think it was a good lesson for me. There's certain people on my team. One that I can think of that's always tried to make sure I don't change too much. He's been my coach my whole life. I've only had one, so that guy's also my dad, unfortunately. But yeah, his goal is to make sure I have what I have, and we try and chip away at certain parts of my game to make him better. And chasing distance, like Rory said, can be a trap at times, and it worked for Bryson, but it's not for everyone. I'm more Rory's stature. I'm not 6'1". Bryson's wrists are probably as thick as my forearm, so he can do things that I can't do, and I have to accept that and find my own path. So I'm probably not going to chase the distance game.
Xander, thank you very much, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.